7 remand prisoners in the Denu cells in the Ketu South municipality of the Volta region have escaped Friday dawn. The jailbreak is said to have committed various offences, escaped with 2 AK-47 rifles and 50 rounds of ammunition. According to the regional commander, his men were about their usual duties when the prisoners broke cell, overpowered the policemen and made away with the rifles. The police have begun a hunt to rearrest the prisoners. Barriers have been set up around major roads in the municipality in a desperate bid to arrest the escapees. Our correspondent Ivy Setoji has been following the situation and has joined me over the telephone. Hello, Ivy.
Good afternoon, Kevin.
Ivy, thanks for joining us here. Now, paint a picture of the atmosphere in Denu to us now.
Right now, it's okay. People everywhere is calm. Many people went to the palace of Tobi Fiti at Jongaga for, I don't know whether for protection or I don't know, but according to them, and that is the only place they can find peace. So you see many residents trooping into the palace of Tobi Fiti, and I went there to speak to the leader of the 10 men who caused the arrest of those alleged criminals who escaped earlier this morning, who told me that his name is Kabila One. He said his life is in danger and that of his friends because these people warned them earlier on that they were going to escape from prison and then come for them. So right now they are asking authorities to do something urgent and bring them back to prison. And also police reinforcement is in town to protect lives and property.
When you say police reinforcement is in town, how do you mean?
When I was leaving town at that time, we realized the police from Accra and Ho were also trooping into Accra and Denu to make sure that things go on well.
I see. We also understand that a search has been mounted for these people. How exactly, or what do you know about that?
Yes, the police actually told me that they are on the lookout for these people, but they are also asking the residents to help them in search of these alleged criminals, of which 2 of them are Nigerians.
I see. We'll leave it here. Thank you very much, Ivy, for the report. Ivy Setoji joined us from the Volta region. Now, residents of Nsuaem in the New Jailbreak municipality of the eastern region are blaming the municipal assembly and government for failing to find a lasting solution to the perennial flooding situation in the area. Residents say they have reported the floods to local authorities who have done little about the situation. This follows yesterday's severe flooding in the area. Haruna Yusuf Ompone has been to the area and shared some observations with me earlier on News Desk.
Yes, they continue to witness this flooding situation. So they believe that government attention on that particular place, in fact, is not encouraging at all because they continue to vote. They vote for them. They come there to campaign for elections. They vote for them. And when they go, whenever they have problems, authorities, they don't come to their aid. Because a lot of them today are complaining that their belongings, their money and everything, in fact, has lost because they don't have anything again. Somebody was even telling me in an interview, short interview a while ago, that, in fact, last year when Ntosu came, they promised of getting them roofing and what have you. When that more went there, they couldn't do anything. They did not give them even one mattress.
Now, indeed. Tell us what sort of help has got to these people today.
When we went there, actually, NADMO personnel from the NADMO were not there. Fire service just came and left. They realized that they considered the situation, the flooding, not to be so serious. So they came and left.
General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Solomon Kote, has questioned the rationale behind President Mahama's recent comments about demonstrations in the country. Speaking in Botswana, the president said he had what he called the dead goat syndrome, which has made him impervious to demands by various groups of protesters. But the General Secretary of the ICU says these comments suggest that demonstrations by labor groups are politically motivated.
Our demonstrations are well informed, well placed. Our demonstrations that we have held so far, if you see the attendance, the numbers, and the purpose on which those demonstrations were held, is just on point, and it has solved some critical problems in this country. If he creates a recipe for us, we shall call on another one again. We are not tying our demonstration to the point of elections. That is not a good trade union strategy. Our strategy is that, is there a cause for it? Is the reason relevant? Is it something that can take up the pain feeling and bitter feeling from people? Look, whenever demonstrations are carried out, it brings two major solutions instant. One, people get the ventilation, to actually spring their venom and speak and speak and speak and speak. Is a big forum for people to get their healing, even though the immediate response is not given. If you speak your mind and your heart, that alone is some kind of a healing process. Then again, we are able to showcase how bad the situation is, and observers are also taking note. The whole world gets to know this is what is happening in Ghana. So if that is a pride for a president to say, I will not be moved, I'm not perturbed, well, I still think if he reflects on that statement he made and the way he's quoted in the Daily Guide, I think he'll revise his notes as the #1 man of the land.
Thanks for staying here. Negotiations on finding a lasting solution to the protracted inter-ethnic conflict in Bawku has received a major boost. The age-old conflict between the Mamprosis and Kusasis has led to a loss of lives and stalled development in the area. The work of an inter-ethnic peace committee aimed at dealing with the conflict halted after the Mamprosis pulled out. Leaders of the two groups have been addressing a press briefing to announce a decision by the Mamprosis to return to the peace table. My colleague Kwache Alfred Nyama is there. He's joined me over the phone line with more detail. Hello, Kwache.
Yes, Kamini.
Now give us details of this boost to end the conflict.
Well, aside representatives of the Mamprosis, Interior Minister Mark Oyongo, Bawku MC, and other officials were there. As you may know, recall, one of the major issues that led to the withdrawal of the Mamprosis from this inter-ethnic peace committee was that they said they were not being allowed to celebrate Dia Damba festival. Of course, they talked about the confiscation of their farmlands as well, and they said that now they've been assured by government that these issues will be addressed. That's a major reason why they decided to reconsider their decision and join this committee that was formed somewhere in 2009 when Mr. Mark Oyongo was then regional minister. Now, this is good for the negotiation process. I'll tell you why. Because the Mamprosis are key to these talks. As you mentioned earlier, the conflict is between the Mamprosis and the Kusasis, these two factions. So the fact that the Mamprosis have decided to come back to the negotiation table means that the process will move forward. The Interior Minister Mark Oyongo says that he's confident that the move will finally bring peace to the area, especially coming days after that ban on the riding of motorbikes was reviewed by the Security Council in that area. Mr. Oyongo says that this is a major boost to the peace process in the area, to this conflict that has lasted many years. He says that even the time that he was young, this conflict persisted.
So the Mamprosis are back to the peace table. What's next for solving the situation in Bawku?
Well, the process after the Mamprosis left the negotiation table, the process halted because obviously the Kusasis couldn't have gone ahead with the peace talks without this key group. So after this decision, a very critical decision to rejoin the inter-ethnic peace committee, the negotiations, the talks, the dialogue will continue on how they can find a lasting solution to the conflict.
Well, thank you very much, Alfred Nyama joined us with detail of the major boost given peace talks over the Bawku crisis. Now, some students of Wesley Girls Senior High School in Kumasi have been injured after the roof of their dining hall collapsed on them. The accident happened after a rainstorm last night. The students, mostly first years, sustained various degrees of injuries when they tried to escape from the danger. Ohim Interior has been monitoring the development and shares this with us.
It was a time for prayer when students normally, especially those in Form 1, use the dining hall, which according to school authorities, was a temporary structure after the school constructed a new dining hall. So while students were studying, the market experienced heavy downpour last month, and all that they heard was continuously there was the roof was ripped off, and students had to run to safety. According to the headmistress, Mrs. Atani Delali, the incident forced some of the electric cables to also destroy, so they had to put out the light. So at that time, there was no light at the dining hall. The students had to struggle, and there was no stampede at the place. So that is what led to some of the students hitting their legs against the dining hall tables and structures at the dining hall. So it led to some of them receiving injuries, and they had to be sent to the Taco Government Hospital for treatment. According to the headmistress, 4 of them received minor injuries. The injury was not all that serious, but they have been treated as we speak now.
I see. But what is the general atmosphere in the school? Has this affected school activities in any way?
Yes, it's affecting teaching and learning up to speak now, because students were seen in groups discussing the experience they went through last night. And I must also admit that when I look at their faces, you could tell that indeed the horrible experience they had is written all over their face. And some of them, when I spoke to them, said it was a terrible experience because there was no light, and they had to crumble at the entrance of the dining hall.
What is the school authority doing about this?
Yes, for now, the temporary arrangement they have made is that the students, over 2,000 of them, will have to go assess needs on a shift basis. They have a dining hall project under construction. They will use that one in the meantime, as they also speak to the contractors to exceed upwards on that particular project.
Members of Parliament are questioning the government directive that district chief executives take direct responsibility for the various municipalities until new district level elections are held. The tenure of all assembly members nationwide expire at midnight tonight, but they cannot be replaced because of the suspension of the district level elections. MPs say the government's directive for the DCEs to take over amounts to disrespect. Our parliamentary correspondent Elton John Brobe joins us with details. Hello, Elton.
Hi.
Why do the MPs think that the local government ministry's decision is disrespectful?
Well, because according to them, they are also in the process of fashioning out a way out of this constitutional crisis likely to arise on the midnight of 14th of March 2015, because the term of the current assembly members will expire on the 15th of March. Now, the committee put together by the Speaker of Parliament also includes the Attorney General and the Minister Local Government Rural Development. And according to the Member of Parliament for Wild West, Joseph Ilechiri, they have been meeting. Indeed, they've suggested 3 ways out of this particular issue. One is for an amendment to the Local Government Act to give the President some, discretionary powers to act or to, put together a team to oversee activity of their surplus in an event like we are seeing right now, which is likely to happen on the 15th of March. So they have been working with the same ministry that issued a statement to the acting regional ministers to act when the term of office of the current assembly members expire the 15th of March. So they weren't happy with the development according to them. One the government is collaborating with Parliament to resolve this issue. It appears the executive has taken their own decisions without informing Parliament that this is the way they want the situation handled. Because as you may be aware, the Electoral Commission has yet to put before Parliament a new constitutional instrument that will take 21 days to mature. Parliament will go on recess on the 27th of March, which means even if the Electoral Commission presents to Parliament a new CI next week, they will not mature before they go on recess, and they will come back in the third week of May to allow the maturation of this particular instrument, which means that the district level election can take place somewhere in July. So Parliament was putting together, this committee was start to come up with a roadmap to resolve it. But now that the ministry has, issued a statement asking regional ministers to act, even they have issues with the directive that was signed by the deputy minister, because according to that, it lacks the capacity to issue such statement. These are some of the concerns they raised on the floor. But the speaker says that he is seeing the draft reports and the communication that went to the media, but they are still deliberating on these issues. According to they have after Sunday to come up with their report, and they will do so.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Elton, for the information. Elton John Broby joined us from Parliament. But let's stay on this subject. I've been joined by local government expert George Cheibafo. Hello, George. Well, thank you very much for joining us here.
Yeah, thank you very much as well for the opportunity.
It's Parliament's reaction to the local government ministry directive justified. Parliament says, some members of Parliament say the directive from the local government is disrespectful to what Parliament itself had been doing to rectify the situation.
Well, to a larger extent, I think I agree with Parliament. But I have my own reservations about the steps taken by Parliament so far to deal with the situation. First of all, I have serious reservations about the ministry's directive. Because you see, by law, MMDAs are corporate bodies. Like I've said on several platforms, they are corporate bodies with perpetual succession who can sue and be sued in their corporate name. So once you dissolve assembly, I think that virtually the entire assembly process shall necessarily have to come to a halt. Because you see, first of all, and I want to give an instance. If there's an infraction on, say, the fee-fixing resolution of the assembly, or for a better word, if people refuse to pay rate fees and licenses levied by assembly, and assemblies want to take, legal action, what is the corporate, status for this legal action? Because the assemblies are the corporate body. And once the corporate body is not there, it's just like looking at the company's code. If a company is defunct, the company cannot initiate any action in the name of the very company against any third party. It is the same way in the other side of it, that nobody can initiate action against the corporate image or structure of the company because the company is defunct. Once you declare the assembly defunct, then it means that virtually every process of the assembly.
But Mr. Cheibafo, the ministry explains that indeed it has given the office to the MMDCEs to handle until the district level elections.
Your line is pretty bad. I'm
saying that the ministry is explaining that there are certain decisions that these MMDCEs are not allowed to take, especially decisions that will require the entire assembly. Wouldn't that deal with your fears?
No, but the point is that for looking at the circumstances, the earliest time elections could be held could be, say, July. So what it means is that between now and July, no contract can be initiated by any chief executive.
Well, they also explain that all of the contracts, all of the projects that need attention from assembly members have already been passed.
But some of them you need to implement. For instance, like I said, the assemblies after April this year will have to send demand notices to all prospective taxpayers. And those who default must be sent to court. So if the Assembly initiates legal action against tax rate defaulters, in what capacity is the Assembly going to do that? Because by then the corporate structure of the assemblies will not be there. So what is the ministry talking about?
What would you rather have been done in this situation, considering that the tenure expires at midnight today?
Well, there was a way out. If you listen to the vice president, who was the acting president at the time, he sent, a directive to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General to initiate moves to extend the term of the assembly. And I think that authority is closed under Article 298 of the Constitution. Parliament, under the circumstance contingent on Chapter 25 of the Constitution, has the power to initiate a law that would extend the term of the assembly. That was the best thing to have been done under the circumstances, instead of giving directives for the dissolution of assembly, because the constitutional ramifications would be very difficult for the country to bear.
How do you see these concerns you have raised challenging local governance here in Ghana over the next, I'm asking, how do you see these concerns you have raised challenging local governance here over the next 2 months at least?
The line is thin.
I'm asking, how do you see this affecting local governance in Ghana?
Well, I think that it appears we do not pay particular attention to decentralization in local governance generally as a nation. Because look, you look at Parliament. Article 113 clearly says that if for any reason Parliament MPs are not elected to succeed an existing Parliament, Parliament shall enact its own laws to extend the term of Parliament by up to 4 years.
Mr. Chairman, are there any consequences to the directive given by the local government ministry?
Are there what?
Are there any consequences?
Anything what?
Are there any consequences
yes,
to the directive?
Exactly so. Like I've explained, the Assembly's mandate to be able to collect its revenue without let or hindrance through any court process will be a problem, because once you initiate the court action, a lawyer will draw attention to the fact that the corporate structure of the assembly does not exist. Because if you want to initiate any action, it should be initiated against the corporate structure of the assembly, which is defined in Article 242 of our Constitution.
Indeed.
That's clear.
Indeed.
The assembly cannot initiate any new contract. Even certain state institutions which have representations from assembly members, like the Lands Commission, I mean, they will be defunct because they will not be able to perform their legitimate function.
Indeed, yes. I'm grateful for your time, Mr. Cheba.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
We'll say on the subject. Thomas Nyako is District Chief Executive for a Sojaman. I'm grateful for your time, Mr. Nyako.
Hello, my dear. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm very well. Now, Mr. Nyako, how do you see this directive by local government for the likes of you to deal with the assemblies until the district level elections? How do you see it? How do you see its challenges affecting you?
Well, the challenges are that when it becomes necessary for us to seek approval from assembly to do something, we do not have them available. So that will be the challenge. But I want to reiterate that the assembly, we presented our budget and our programs to the General Assembly, and they've been approved. And so if you look at the statement that was issued, we are responsible for the day-to-day administrative and executive functions of the Assembly. That is not to be done by Assembly members. So for the day-to-day running of the district, it is not going to be affected. But if we have to do anything that requires approval from the Assembly, that is where the challenge will come in.
Well, Mr. Cheba earlier raised the issue of collecting taxes, where any lawyer could argue that you don't have the entire structure of the corporate body, which is the Assembly. What would be your reaction to that?
In fact, I don't agree to that because we had a duly constituted assembly that passed all these that gave approval for the fees that have to be collected. They have been duly gazetted, and so all the conditions have been met. And so if we are collecting and there are challenges, we can go to court without necessarily having the General Assembly to approve for it. Because once it has been gazetted, we have all the legal backing to be able to collect them. So for me, I wouldn't say that the absence of the assembly is not a challenge. If anybody says that, then that person is saying that the assembly is not needed. I mean, the assembly members are not needed at all.
Mr.
It is a challenge, but what I'm saying is that we can still go ahead with our day-to-day duties, notwithstanding the challenge that we have.
We'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much. Now, lawyer for Alfred Agbeshi-Woyome, Musa Ahmed, has hit hard at former President Jerry John Rawlings for describing his client as a thief. According to him, comments by former president are not just irresponsible but also reckless in nature. He says the former president ought to know better since such comments have a tendency to brew chaos in the country. Let's take a listen to that comment by former President Jerry John Rawlings.
As Attorney General's office, women who collaborate as this and our chairman, and Mammy, tell our veteran sentence, man. We are fighting corruption. We're not serious. We're not serious. Meanwhile, I'm a family job. I have work positions here, party. We know how two more party, back on more. Maybe 40% Asian, 60% air voting. To protect themselves, they won't vote. Are we so stupid? As the support base, the electoral college, one only Yanolo. Ni chabo onu he ona no confeto mo ona ni bi ya onu mi na ko ye mayo eko.
Now, I spoke earlier to lawyer for Alfred Agbeshi-Woyome on News Desk. Reckless about the former president's comments.
What is reckless is to make a statement without justification, without any evidence to back it, without proof. It makes it reckless.
Well, one would also argue that these are just his opinions. I mean, the law court has already made his decision.
Oh, that's an opinion. You can't use a criminal element to describe somebody and justify it on grounds of personal opinion. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having laws like, defamation and the rest.
I see. Now, so what exactly do you expect from the former president now?
I expect him to just agree and accept the judgment of the court, because that is what the law says. The law says that all persons within the country shall obey the decision of the court. And he's one. He's not an exception. He's a Ghanaian. He should obey the decision and stop making unfounded allegations.
Understand that the Attorney General is considering an appeal of the case. How does this come to you?
Well, they can go and they can appeal, but they can't change the facts, they can't change the judgment, they can't change the evidence.
I see. You're ready for one? You're ready for an appeal?
We are ready. We are ready. We are following.
Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for Bawku says the Attorney General should be blamed for what has been described as the state prosecutor's shoddy work in the trial of businessman Alfred Woyome. The acquittal of Mr. Woyome has surprised many Ghanaians, with the section of the public questioning the preparedness of the prosecution for the case. Member of Parliament for Bawku, Jose Wusu, says it was clear from the start that Woyome would win the case.
Progress of the case came under her purview, from the time she was appointed Attorney General. And I'm sure if she were minded to start afresh, it could easily, looking at the circumstances and the urge to get a conviction, if it was so vital to her and to the state, you could have stopped, retracted, and proceeded again. One of the things I remember Mr. Darocha for was that if you find yourself in an intellectual blind alley, there's nothing stopping you from retracting your steps and starting again. Now, as the case progresses, and the memo I mentioned earlier shows clearly that the state attorneys in court were actually finding it difficult to progress, and they reported through their seniors to the Attorney General. If I were in her shoes, I would have had a conference of all the lawyers, reviewed their position. If I thought that it would not be in the interest of the state to proceed, I would stop. Or, because you see, in the end, the kind of confidence that Ghanaians would have in its lawyers, state attorneys, would be badly affected as it is now from the outcome. Now, if it were in their interest to stop the prosecution and say, look, we are not interested in putting Wyoming in prison, we're interested in recovering our money, so we are focusing here. And remember, there were high court cases they were prosecuting, in addition to what Martin did at the Supreme Court. Those were all geared towards recovering the money. Now, if it was to satisfy the public that Wyoming is also punished in the criminal court, and it turned out not to be practicable, I would have retracted. But you see, it is as it was set up. The case was set up to fail, as I've said already, without adding those collaborators, those whose acts or omissions made it possible for Mr. Wyoming to get the money. And I'm glad that something has posted something. If you trace the case from its origins, it's strange at what point Wyoming realized that he also was owed money. And so anybody who wanted to trace the case would have known that something fishy had happened along the line, and could either have joined those who helped him or decided that, okay, we are not prosecuting. Because you can't isolate the man and get a conviction. So the case was, as I said, guaranteed to fail from the start. Now, and that's where I always said, I hold those who took the political decisions.
Our top stories here on Joy News today. Students of Wesley Girls Senior High School in Kumasi injured after the roof of their dining hall collapsed on them. Police mount search for 7 remand prisoners who escaped from the Denu cells in the Ketu South municipality. And to come, local farmers in Ghana resort to egg production to remain relevant and survive the stiff competition. You're watching Joy News today with me, Kemini Inyamani Amano. Now, some local farmers in Ghana say they are having to resort to egg production in a bid to remain relevant and survive stiff competition from cheap imported poultry products. The importation of cheap foreign poultry products have continued to be an impediment for local producers. They believe the measure will ensure they overcome low sales from the business.
It's a business in Ghana due to high demand for meat and related products. However, cheap imports have severely reduced profit potentials of local producers. In 2013 alone, more than 180,000 metric tons of meat was imported into Ghana, which is an increase of over 100% compared to 2012. Business operators say the demand is increasing with the rapid population growth. Production manager of Akati Farms, Dominic Nzule, says the increase in imports undermines the potentials of local farmers.
People want to go there, and if you are producing and you are not getting the market, then you look to other areas where you can produce. And as I said, Ghana has been fed with eggs from local production. No eggs is coming from outside. How come we are not interested in the thing? It's because people are consuming large quantities, but they are consuming cheap product from outside, and that is creating a whole lot of unfair competition.
He explains the meat products drive the industry more than the eggs, but they are compelled to pursue that option in the face of competition from foreign products.
We are waiting for the market to be there. Then we open up our farms, for the opportunity. The farms are there. The capacities, are there. It's huge. But all has been channeled into egg production because we don't see any,
But the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations believes government support for indigenous farmers to increase production can reduce imports into the country. The ministry is partnering with Akati Farms in a new model to train youth interested in the poultry industry.
As a ministry, and for that matter, a new agency, formerly JIDA, now here, who intends to bring out new models. We are looking out now, of course, due to our experience. We want to deal with established institutions that already have the facilities to give some training to our youth, teeming youth, who want to take poultry and other professions as a career.
Details of the program is yet to be made to the public. Under the new model, the youth who are interested in poultry farming will undergo a 2-year training program at the Akati Farms. Executive Director of Youth Employment Agency, Kobe Champo, explains why the poultry industry was selected for the training.
The focus will be on poultry, since we have as a policy to reduce the importation of poultry products into Ghana. So we'll start off by bringing people, like the minister said, we'll train them and then eventually set them up. You must understand that JIDA now has been broken up into two. There's the youth employment part, which I head, and there's the youth enterprise support. Once these people have gone through the training here, we'll hand them over to youth enterprise support, where there is money to fund their setting up of their own systems and structures.
Now, government expects the new national airline to start operations by the end of this year. The Transport Ministry had earlier announced the airline would take off this month, but Transport Minister Jifar Ativo says plans have changed.
Discussions, they told us that one was not possible. So they are working towards the end of the year. Monday, we got the pre-feasibility report from the transaction advisor. They've just submitted the report. We'll study it and know what to do next. So, whatever is in the report has to be forwarded to Minister of Finance, the PPP desk, for onward submission to the World Bank. It's World Bank that is funding the transaction advisor process. So it will be sent to them, whatever is in the report. If they agree, then we'll move to the next stage.
Well, news coming in. Kumasi Mayor Kojo Bonsu is in the Wesley Girls Senior High School in Kumasi after students were injured following the collapse of the roof of the dining hall of the school. The accident happened after a rainstorm last night. Ohim Interior is a correspondent on the ground, and he's joining me now with some detail. Hello, Ohim.
Hello, Kamini.
What was Mr. Kojo Bonsu there in the school to do?
Yes, Mr. Kojo Bonsu, with the support of other officials of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, paid a surprise visit to the school just to come and get first-hand information on this situation. And don't forget that the Kumasi Wesley Girls Senior High School is within his jurisdiction. And addressing the school authorities, Mr. Kojo Bonsu assured the students' body and then the school authorities that indeed the school deserves a meeting venue or a meeting ground where they can use as assembly hall. So he assured that the assembly will get them a new assembly hall, and beyond it, ask the assembly engineer and then the planning officer to see that the arrangement is complete for construction work to begin. So Mr. Kojo Bonsu did not spend much time here, but he also inspected the scene of the incident, last night's incident, where you also had the opportunity to speak to 3 students who were on campus as you visited them here.
That these parents of the school children or the school girls are being prevented from entering the school. Why is that?
Yes, I have been speaking to some of the school authorities, and the information they give me was that today is not an official visiting hour, and don't forget that they've managed to bring the situation under control. They think that the students received minor injuries. The injuries they had was not so well for parents to be allowed onto campus.
I see.
To also disrupt our academic work here. So,
and what do the parents think about it?
For the parents, they are worried because they thought that some said they would have even wished to see their walls peeping through the gates of the school, but that is not allowed.
Well,
school authorities say they will bring the situation under control and then invite the parents to also come and visit the walls.
Very well. Ohime, thank you very much for the update. Kidney failure patients have made a passionate appeal to government to support their treatment. Some of these patients say they spend as much as 3,000 cedis each month on dialysis treatment, placing a huge financial burden on them and their families. As the world marks Kidney Day, the patients are asking the National Health Insurance Authority to consider subsidizing their treatment. Joseph Opoku was at the police hospital in Accra, where the ceremony was held to mark the day, and filed this report.
World Kidney Day is celebrated annually to create awareness about renal diseases and encourage people to take good care of their health. Statistics from the Ministry of Health show that about 3,000 cases of kidney failure were recorded in the country in the year 2013 alone. The role of the kidney is to cleanse the blood of toxic substances, but in patients with kidney failure, that function is not possible.
This is the dialysis center at the police hospital here in Accra. This center has the capacity to treat about 8 patients at every point in time. Some of the patients, as we can see, are lying here. They are undertaking their treatment. Each of them needs to spend about 4 hours on the dialysis machine each time they come around here to undertake their treatment. Some of them need to undertake the treatment for at least 3 times each week. And the complaint that they make is that it comes at a very expensive cost to them, spending about 170 Ghana cedis on each treatment. And at the end of the month, apart from the treatment and all the medication that they need to take, some of them spend in excess of 3,000 cedis each month undertaking their treatment.
My uncle pays my bills. He spends 3.5 million cedis on me weekly for this. Now, he can't even pay the money for me monthly as he used to. He only pays weekly. Everyone should help us, government and all other individuals.
Director General in charge of the police hospital, DCOP Seidu Zakaria, appealed to corporate institutions to support the center with equipment and drugs for the treatment of patients.
We are grateful for Health Education on Wheels, who all the machines we have currently, they have provided the technical know-how for us to have dialysis. All their machines. The police hospital has nothing virtually. The other thing is the consumables to filter or to do renal replacement are quite expensive.
At the ceremony to mark World Kidney Day at the police hospital, Executive Chairman of the NGO Health Education on Wheels, Godfred Nyante, advised Ghanaians to be watchful of their eating and drinking habits to avoid kidney failure. Our top stories here on Joy News Today.
Students of Wesley Girls Senior High School in Kumasi injured after the roof of their dining hall collapsed on them. Police mount search for 7 remand prisoners who escaped from a Denu cell in the Ketu South municipality of the Volta region. Local farmers in Ghana resort to egg production to remain relevant and survive stiff competition from cheap imported poultry products. I'm grateful for your company here. Visit myjoyonline.com for more news. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amana. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the rest of our broadcasts.